You need men, because if all men disappeared, who would protect the women? Oh, darling, if all men disappeared, we wouldn't need protection.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll see how a woman makes a huge scene just because a man approached her in a store parking lot. We'll see how women say to leave them alone, but when they are in danger, they complain that men don't want to help them. We want to invite you to smash that like button and support us in reaching 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year to get our first plaque. That's the only contribution we ask of you, man. Add your grain of sand to the movement. Share your experiences in the comments for any man who needs them. Without further introduction, let's get started.
A male approached me in a parking lot. He's, "Excuse me, miss," and I don't know why in the hell he was approaching me or what he was trying to do. And before he was probably 30 feet from me when he said, "Excuse me, ma'am." And I turned around and I literally yelled at him and I said, "Do not approach me."
So let me get this straight. You're in a crowded parking lot in the middle of the day, and this man approaches you and politely says, "Excuse me, ma'am," and you turn around and start screaming at him like a maniac? This brings up a couple of issues, not the least of which is that this is contributing to the deterioration of the way in which we treat each other in a polite society. I mean, if I can't approach a woman in a public place to say, "Excuse me, ma'am, you drop this," without her turning around and screaming her head off and causing a scene, then we're staring down the road into a future where we no longer treat each other with common decency. But this also ties into this phenomenon where men are no longer pursuing women romantically and women being confused as to why. You see, a good, decent, traditional man will want to pursue a woman face-to-face in a public setting, someplace not at a bar or a club. Well, the most common places we run into each other as men and women are the grocery store, the gym, church, you name it. Now, part of me does feel bad for this woman because she genuinely seems shaken up by this, but my question is why? Who taught you that if a man approaches a woman in broad daylight in a very public place, that he's probably doing it in order to cause you harm? I'm not saying that stuff like that doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen often enough to warrant that kind of a reaction. What I'm trying to wrap my head around is that women don't want to be approached by men out in public, especially at the gym. Yet you'll entertain all of these sleazy dudes who slid into your DMs who are probably married or in a relationship, or you'll go out with some guy you met on Tinder and go hiking in some remote location and you haven't even had a chance to vet the guy yet. As a woman, there's nothing wrong with being cautious and guarded when dealing with men out in public, but you can do that without acting like an insane person. If you're a woman in the market for a man, you might want to open yourself up to the idea of meeting and talking to a man in these more public places like the grocery store or the gym if you want to find the type of man that you are looking for. Because these dudes that are sliding into your DMs probably don't fit that description.
Absolutely. If one can't approach in a natural way, how are we supposed to do it? Also, why do women have such inflated egos these days? This woman didn't even let the man say what he wanted to say, and he was 30 feet away from her. That's a considerable distance for her to feel threatened. But because of her narcissism and desire to feel important, what better way than to insult and record a video minutes after a creepy man approached her? But something I learned in sales is that it's not the message, it's who delivers the message. How so? Mr. The Wall. Simple. If it had been a man who won the genetic lottery, say an 8 to 10 in attractiveness, I bet her reaction would have been entirely different. It's well known that being ugly is equivalent to being dangerous or creepy, and the same principle doesn't apply to a physically attractive man. But as I said, she doesn't even know why he approached her. He could have been warning her about something with her car. But since he was an ugly man, he must be dangerous. Let's see if another woman has something more to say.
There is a video going around of a woman describing her experience of being alone with her son when a strange man starts to approach her, which she yells, "Do not approach me, get away from me," and the man gets offended before going away. And I've said it on this channel before, but I will say it again. Men do not seek out women for help. They will either seek out another man or they will contact the authorities. There is almost no reason for a man to be approaching a woman in public that they do not know, especially if that woman is a mother with her child and they are alone. This happened in the parking lot of a grocery store. If he really needed something, he could go inside the grocery store and ask for assistance from an associate. Leave women alone.
Okay, leave women alone because a man doesn't seek to help women. But here's something very interesting. The oldest instinct of a man towards a woman is to protect. This means that when a man sees a woman in danger, his instinct makes him react, something that is being lost these days. In countries where traditionalism still exists, A woman wouldn't react this way unless there was an attack or an attempt of one. Because, as I said, the woman didn't even listen to what he was going to say, and he was 30 feet away. She only thought of two things. He's a creepy guy who's going to hurt me in a crowded parking lot, or he wants to court me. But she didn't think he might say, "Look, your rear tire is low on air," or "You have a damaged directional light," or "Your car is leaking oil," or "Your rear light is broken," or "You have a flat tire," or "Be careful, there was an accident on the road ahead," or "Check on your kids. I think one ate a bug." Anything, brothers. She didn't know. Just because he was a man, she discriminated against him as dangerous. But of course, we shouldn't approach until she's in real danger. Then she wants you to be a man. Just watch the next video.
Watched a white girl fight off a robber at gunpoint. He literally had a gun to her. She fought him off, got the magazine out the gun and everything. But the crazy part about it was that there was two men watching very close by. I mean, literally very close by. They were right within the vicinity, which is weird because why would that man try to rob her with those two guys there? But he did it because he knew they wasn't gonna do shit, and they did not. It was one man sitting on the.
I don't know why this is such a hard concept to understand, but women created this situation where they dislike men so much that men finally said, fuck it, we're not going to help you, we're not going to protect you, we owe you absolutely nothing, and because you're just some random stranger, I no longer have to help you. And really what gets me about the video is that there's a lot of other people in that video. Most people did a singular focus on the man sitting in the grass when that woman was getting attacked, but there were women there. So what happened to women supporting women? You know, y'all like to preach like how you're girls and you're supporting each other and oh my God, I'm always here for you. But you see a woman getting attacked and there's two women walking the other direction. Why aren't they running to her defense? Right, because you want the men that you claim are such trash to save you. And this is a perfect example of what women do all of the freaking time. They create this standard for how men should treat them, whether that's in the dating phases, in the marriage stages, in friendships, whatever it is. And they created this standard where they hate men so much, but now you want protection from said men. And now that you don't get it, the men are weak. Make it make sense. You cannot continuously drag men and blame the patriarchy and all of this bullshit around you, but then expect men to jump in and save you. Why don't you all call a freaking bear? Okay, bye.
Exactly. Why should I put my life on the line when you tell me to leave women alone? Oh, because there's a standard for women that dictates when a man should be a man and when he shouldn't. You can't be a man when you approach them because you're dangerous if you're ugly. But if they're in danger, you must risk your life to defend them for the simple pleasure of their gratitude, because that's what a man does. Why didn't the women, who are so supportive and not a danger, step in to defend her? Because they don't care. And if you put them to choose 1,000 times between helping you against an armed man or saving themselves, you're out of luck because they will choose themselves every single time. You are strong and independent when a decent guy approaches without saying a single word, and you insult him. But you become the weaker sex when you're in danger or need a man's help, as shown in the next video where the situation isn't as extreme.
I'm quite literally rolling around in horse shit, trying to get this bottom thing off my car. I don't want to talk about it. I'm gonna cry. I'm trying to get this off, and I need a screwdriver to take it off. And I just wish someone would pull over and help me, because I don't know what to do. Oh, someone just pulled over. No way. Thank you so much.
I gotta say it, guys. This woman's reaction is how most independent women would react. And I know I might get a lot of hate for saying it, but this proves men's points when they roll their eyes at women that say, I don't need no man. Because sure, when things are going well for you and you're not running into any issues, you're not stranded on the side of the road with your car falling apart. Of course, you can be a little overconfident in what you're capable of handling. But don't forget that one, the reason why your life is pretty easy is because of men. And two, the second your life becomes not so easy, guess who you're going to be hoping and praying is headed your way?
Why didn't a woman stop to help her and get down in the horse manure to fix her car? Because there's no way she would stop to help. Solidarity among women doesn't exist. When they have problems, it's always a man who comes to the rescue. Being strong and independent only made her cry. If a man hadn't come, she would have been stuck there until the next day or abandoned the car altogether. I bet if that same man approached her in another situation, she would have reacted like the first woman in the parking lot. That's how they are. When they need a man, you're not dangerous. When they don't need you, then you're creepy. Why doesn't another woman help? Because no woman would dirty her clothes for another woman, and none would do that for free. They would simply say, let a man help. But Mr. Simp has no better logic regarding the woman in the parking lot. Let's take a look.
If I can't approach a woman in a public place to say, excuse me, ma'am, you dropped this, without her turning around and screaming her head off and causing a scene, then we're staring down the road into a future where we no longer treat each other with common decency.
So I was tagged in this video where this man is upset that men are being discouraged from approaching random women in parking lots. Now the video itself is a response to this video.
I'm literally shaking right now because I just had a man approach me in a parking lot.
Danielle is a lone female with a child. A man is 30 feet away and approaches her and says, hey ma'am. She does not want to be approached, and so she yells at him, do not approach me, and continues to yell at him until he goes away. The comments on her original video are pretty vile. Men calling her out for being crazy and hysterical, and Nate here seems to think that this modest act of impoliteness is going to be responsible for the downfall of civility. And what's frustrating about this is Nate actually runs headfirst into the point.
Genuinely seems shaken up by this, but my question is why? He's probably doing it in order to cause you harm.
And that should be where the video ends. A man is confused by a woman's behavior, he puts himself in her shoes, displays a little empathy and compassion, and suddenly we all grow and learn from the experience. The end. But sadly, we don't live in that world.
I'm not saying that stuff like that doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen often enough to warrant that kind of a reaction.
That's right, he doesn't feel it happens often enough for women's fear to be justified, which begs the obvious question of how much assault does he think needs to happen for women's fear to be justified? But that's on us, because as everyone knows, if you want to know how often violence against women is enacted, you don't ask a former cop, you ask a cop's wife. Look, this shouldn't need to be said, but it does not matter whether you feel the fear is justified or not. She was very clearly shaken up by the experience. The fear was very real to her. And it seems obvious that a single woman alone with a child, whether she should prioritize being polite or setting and establishing boundaries so that they are safe, a civilized society would say, be safe every time, forget about being polite. But even worse, Nate's real concern isn't actually civility.
A traditional man will want to pursue a woman face-to-face in a public setting. If you're a woman in the market for a man, you might want to open yourself up to the idea of meeting and talking to a man in these more public places like the grocery store or the gym if you want to find the type of man that you were looking for.
Nate's main concern is that if women stop allowing strange men to approach them in parking lots, how are middle-aged traditional men like him supposed to get laid? Now, forgetting that nobody asked, is there a more perfect example of the disconnect between women and the men who refuse to listen to them than a woman explaining she is fearful of being robbed, attacked, assaulted, kidnapped, or worse, and a man telling her that this is irrational and she should instead far more prioritize the fear of missing out on a husband like him? And look, I get it. Anybody who's watched Amelia's series on Why Are You Single knows why these men tend to avoid and struggle on dating apps. But it should be very obvious that if your dating strategy involves invalidating women's genuine fears so that you can justify why you should still be allowed to approach random women in parking lots so that you can hit on them, perhaps you're not the catch you think you are.
God, please, no! No! No!
Now, Mr. Simps, if a woman is in danger because her car has a problem, someone is following her, or another woman who has something against her wants to harm her or her children, what should a man do when he sees these warning signs? According to him, the best thing would be to let the situation happen and not get involved. So, you've heard it. If you see a woman in danger, Mr. Simps tells you not to approach. He tells us a man should put himself in a woman's shoes and show empathy. Of course, since you weren't insulted just for approaching without saying a word, it's easy to say be mature about that embarrassing moment when she insulted you in front of everyone in the parking lot. But worse yet, she doesn't say anything to the woman, then records a video talking about how the man is creepy because she can't have a bit of empathy. But remember, how many dangerous situations does a woman need to be in for men to understand why they shouldn't approach? Yet, half of the world's population today exists because men made the first move to win over a woman, back when dating apps didn't exist. But man, you have to be empathetic when you see a woman. No matter the situation, show empathy and don't approach her, like the gentleman in the following video did.
I'm here to say one more thing.
Oh, goody.
I just had to drag my AC out of my car to my apartment building. 3 guys passed me. None of them offered to help.
Why should they? Women are strong and independent. They can do everything on their own.
None. 0 out of 3. Why? 'Cause you couldn't lift it? You were too scared to lift it? Is that why? Am I intimidating? Am I more masculine than you?
No, that's not what it is at all. But let's take a moment to think about how many women, thousands upon thousands of women, are saying every single day that in fact they don't need men. They don't need them at all. In fact, they're saying sometimes that the world would be better off without men. But apparently, some women still need men for grunt work. I should think that they would be grateful that men are finally listening to their wishes, ideas, and their feelings. But apparently not when it comes to lifting heavy objects.
Not because Mr. Simps told us to show empathy, but because we see that you are a strong and independent woman. We don't want to be oppressors interfering with your determination to resolve your own issues, so we let you handle them, proving that you are a modern woman. Mr. Simps should be proud of those 3 men who understood the message and showed their empathy. So, men, learn to let women handle their issues. Don't get involved in situations that don't concern you because we don't want women to panic. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. Do you think the woman overreacted, or were her reasons legitimate? Have you ever been in a situation where a woman became hysterical just because you approached her? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from The Wall.